Do you ever look at that cool, shady corner of your garden and think, nothing will ever grow there? Well, it's time to change that mindset, because some vegetables love the shade. That's right, you don't need a sun-drenched garden to enjoy fresh, homegrown produce. In fact, certain crops actually prefer softer light because it keeps them tender, prevents bolting, and helps the soil stay moist longer. Today, we're exploring 12 amazing vegetables that thrive in low-light conditions. And by the end, I'll share a few clever tips to help you make the most of every shady patch in your garden. 1. Spinach and lettuce, shade's dynamic duo. When most people picture a vegetable garden, they imagine neat rows basking in full sun. But here's a secret seasoned gardeners know well. Some of the best greens grow better in the shade. Take spinach, for instance. This hardy classic has been cultivated for centuries and thrives in cooler, gentler conditions. If you've ever had spinach bolt and turn bitter in midsummer, that's because it hates heat. In partial shade, however, the soil stays cooler and moisture lasts longer, so the plant stays happy, lush, and productive for weeks on end. Lettuce is just as shade-friendly, and maybe even more so. Since it's prized for crisp, tender leaves, it thrives in cooler, slightly dimmer areas. Too much sun causes lettuce to wilt, dry out, or turn bitter. But under soft, filtered light, it grows sweet and delicate, ready for continuous harvests. Both of these greens have shallow roots, meaning they don't need deep soil, just consistent moisture and rich organic matter. And because shaded soil loses water more slowly, you'll spend less time watering and more time harvesting. So if you have a corner under a tree, beside a fence, or behind taller crops, don't let it go to waste. Spinach and lettuce will happily turn those quiet spaces into lush, edible patches of green. 2. Kale, the shade-tolerant superfood. Kale might be famous for its powerhouse nutrition, but it's also one of the most shade-tolerant veggies you can grow. While it enjoys full sun, it doesn't need it. And in fact, partial shade often makes kale even better. In hot, sunny conditions, kale's leaves can become coarse or bitter. But give it a break from direct light, and it responds with sweeter, softer, more flavorful foliage. That makes shaded spots ideal for growing delicious, tender kale long into the warm months. This plant is a true survivor. It shrugs off cool weather, resists pests, and keeps producing fresh leaves even when other greens have given up. And since you can harvest kale gradually, picking the outer leaves while letting the center grow, one plant can feed you for months. Gardeners in warmer regions especially benefit from shade-grown kale. While full-sun kale might wilt or toughen in summer, shaded kale keeps its vigor and taste far longer. Curly and lacinato. Varieties are particularly good choices for these conditions. So if your garden has a spot where the sun only peeks through a few hours a day, that's kale's happy place. Strong, colorful, nutrient-rich, and nearly indestructible. It's the definition of a low-effort, high-reward plant. 3. Swiss chard, the colorful shade performer. If you want a vegetable that's both beautiful and practical, look no further than Swiss chard. With its vivid red, gold, orange, and pink stems and glossy green leaves, it's a showstopper and the best part? It loves partial shade. Unlike many sun-hungry crops, chard is naturally adaptable. It tolerates cooler, dimmer light with ease, producing lush leaves that stay tender and mild for months. In fact, shade helps prevent the bitterness or wilting that can happen in intense sun, so your harvests taste even better. Swiss chard isn't just resilient, it's also decorative. Many gardeners plant it among flowers or along borders for its ornamental appeal. In shaded beds, you can grow it closer together for a dense, tropical look that doubles as a steady food source. And it's incredibly versatile in the kitchen. Perfect for salads, sautés, soups, or even as a spinach substitute. Shade-grown chard tends to be sweeter and softer, making it a fantastic base for fresh dishes. So if you're after a plant that brings color, texture, and long-lasting harvest to your garden, even in the dimmest corners, Swiss chard is your go-to performer. It's living proof that shade can be just as productive and far more beautiful than sun. 4. Arugula, the peppery green, that thrives in shade. Arugula, or rocket as it's often called, is a bold little plant with a big personality. Its sharp, peppery flavor makes it a favorite for salads, sandwiches, and pasta dishes. But here's something most gardeners don't know. Arugula actually performs best in partial shade. That's right. This gourmet green doesn't need full sun to shine. Like spinach, arugula is a cool weather crop that struggles in the heat. Too much sunlight makes it bolt quickly, sending up flowers and turning the leaves bitter. When grown in a shaded spot, however, the soil stays cool and moist, which slows that process down. The result? Tender, flavorful leaves that last much longer into the season. Another reason to love arugula is how fast it grows. You can go from seed to harvest in about 30 days. Perfect for gardeners who want quick, rewarding results. Because it grows so fast, many people plant it in succession, sowing a few seeds every couple of weeks for a steady supply of fresh greens. Shade helps this method work beautifully by extending each batch's growing time before bolting. Here's a pro tip. Plant arugula beneath taller crops like tomatoes, beans, or corn. These larger plants act as natural umbrellas, filtering the sunlight and creating the perfect microclimate. This companion planting trick not only saves space but also helps arugula thrive effortlessly. So if you've been searching for a leafy green that's fast, flavorful, and perfectly suited for shady spots, arugula is your answer. It proves that even the least sunny corners of your garden can produce gourmet quality greens. 5. Broccoli, the hidden hero of the shade garden. When most people think of broccoli, they picture rows of green heads soaking up the summer sun. But here's a little-known fact. Broccoli is surprisingly shade-tolerant, and partial shade can actually make it taste better and grow stronger. Broccoli is a cool season crop, meaning it prefers moderate temperatures. Too much sun or heat often causes it to bolt or form small, loose heads before it's ready. But when grown in filtered light or partial shade, broccoli develops slowly and steadily, leading to larger, tighter, and more flavorful heads. Shade also protects broccoli from stress, both from heat and from rapid evaporation in the soil. This stable environment results in tender florets and sweeter flavor, unlike sun-exposed broccoli, which can turn tough and bitter. Many seasoned gardeners find that their best harvests come from plants that get morning sun and gentle shade through the afternoon. Taste-wise, shade-grown broccoli is a game-changer. The cooler growing conditions enhance its mild sweetness and soften the earthy undertones, making it perfect for everything from roasting to steaming. Even picky eaters will notice the difference. Of course, broccoli remains one of the most nutrient-rich vegetables you can grow. It's packed with vitamin C and K, fiber, and powerful antioxidants. Growing it in the shade doesn't diminish any of those benefits. It just helps the plant stay healthier and more productive. So if your past broccoli crops have bolted too soon or turned bitter, try giving them a little break from the sun. In the calm, cooler shade, broccoli transforms into one of the easiest, most dependable stars of your garden, proving that even the mightiest vegetables can flourish out of the spotlight. 6. Cauliflower, loving life in cool, gentle shade. Cauliflower has a bit of a reputation for being one of the trickier vegetables to grow, and it's true, it can be sensitive. But here's the insider secret that seasoned gardeners know. A cauliflower actually prefers partial shade. A little protection from the harsh sun can make the difference between stunted, uneven heads and the large, creamy white curds everyone hopes for. Direct sunlight and high temperatures often stress cauliflower, causing it to bolt or form loose, discolored heads. In contrast, partial shade provides a more stable environment. Cooler air, slower evaporation, and softer light. These gentler conditions help the plant stay focused on steady, healthy growth rather than reacting to heat or dryness. Consistency is key with cauliflower. It doesn't handle stress well, so any swings in temperature or moisture can throw it off. Shady spots naturally offer the kind of steady microclimate cauliflower loves. Moist soil, even temperatures, and protection from midday glare. This makes it a perfect candidate for areas where other crops might struggle. If you garden in a warm climate, shade is practically essential for success. Try growing cauliflower beside taller plants like pole beans, sweet corn, or sunflowers, which act as living sunshades while also making the most of your space. The cooler microclimate they create helps cauliflower stay calm, balanced, and productive. So, while cauliflower might seem high maintenance, it's really just particular about comfort. Give it filtered sunlight, consistent watering, and some shelter from heat, and it will reward you with beautiful, dense heads full of flavor. Sometimes all it takes to turn cauliflower from difficult to dependable is the right amount of shade. 7. Peas, shade's climbing champions. Peas might be famous for loving cool weather, but what many gardeners overlook is just how well they thrive in partial shade. These graceful climbers are perfectly suited to cooler, sheltered spots where they grow steadily and produce sweet, tender pods without the stress of full sun. In fact, peas often do better when they're not exposed to intense heat. Too much sun can cause them to dry out, stop flowering, or quit producing early. A bit of afternoon shade keeps the soil cooler and the plants happier, extending their harvest season and improving flavor. Morning sun followed by gentle, filtered light. Later in the day is an ideal setup. Peas are also one of the most space-efficient crops you can grow. Because they climb, you can easily tuck them into shady corners or narrow garden beds. A simple trellis, fence, or set of poles gives them all the structure they need to reach upward toward the light. Many experienced gardeners even plant peas under taller crops like corn or tomatoes, where the dappled light creates a perfect growing environment. The beauty of shade-grown peas is their slow, steady production. Instead of rushing through their growth cycle in a burst of heat, they mature gradually, meaning you'll enjoy a longer, more consistent harvest. Regular picking encourages even more pods, so you can keep collecting sweet, crunchy peas for weeks. And don't forget, peas aren't just delicious, they're highly nutritious. They're packed with vitamins A, C, and K, along with plant-based protein and fiber. Shade doesn't diminish any of those qualities. In fact, it helps the plants stay lush, green, and healthy all season long. So, if you've been hesitant to plant peas in the less sunny parts of your garden, it's time to give them a chance. With a little support and partial shade, peas will climb happily, producing a steady supply of crisp, flavorful pods, proof that even the shadiest spots can be bursting with life. 8. Celery. The crisp champion of the shade. Celery is often regarded as a challenging crop for beginners, yet experienced gardeners recognize it as one of the most suitable vegetables for shaded gardens. This refreshing, crisp plant flourishes in cool, partially shaded areas where the soil remains evenly moist. In full sunlight, celery is prone to becoming coarse, fibrous, or stressed. However, in shaded conditions, it grows gradually and consistently, producing tender stalks with refined flavor, ideal for salads, soups, or juicing. The reason celery prospers in shade lies in its preference for moisture and coolness. Originating from marshy habitats, celery is naturally adapted to environments that offer abundant water and moderate temperatures. A shaded garden bed replicates these conditions far more effectively than an exposed plot, as it slows evaporation and stabilizes soil moisture levels. Enriching the soil with compost or other organic materials enhances both its water retention and nutrient content, ensuring optimal growth. Celery's extended maturation period is another factor that makes shade beneficial. Because it requires several months to reach harvest size, excessive heat or intense sunlight can cause premature bolting or tough, bitter stalks. Partial shade moderates temperature fluctuations and encourages steady growth, resulting in firm, succulent stems with superior taste and texture. In culinary use, shade-grown celery distinguishes itself with its subtle sweetness and delicate aroma. It lends depth to soups, stews, and stir-fries, while maintaining a crisp texture suitable for raw dishes. Nutritionally, celery remains an excellent source of fiber, potassium, vitamin K, and antioxidants, with its quality often enhanced when grown under mild, stress-free conditions. For those cultivating a mixed garden, celery performs admirably alongside other shade-tolerant plants, such as leafy greens, peas, or herbs. This form of companion planting not only maximizes space, but also creates a balanced microclimate that benefits all crops involved. In essence, shaded areas of the garden need not be neglected. Celery's ability to flourish in cool, moist, and low-light environments makes it an exceptional choice for such spaces. With patience, attentive watering, and well-prepared soil, this understated vegetable can reward the gardener with abundant, flavorful harvests, a true testament to the quiet productivity of the shaded garden. Shade, therefore, is not a limitation but an opportunity. When cultivated with the right crops, even the dimmest corner can become a thriving, productive sanctuary of greenery and nourishment.